Commander Woojin Park sat in his metal chair, staring at the screen in front of him. The message had come from deep space, from aliens who had been trying to kill humans for 20 years. Now they wanted to talk about peace. It felt wrong. The alien on the screen looked like a giant snake with arms. Its skin was green and covered in small scales. Its eyes were yellow and cold. This was Ambassador Vexthon from the Galactic Coalition, the same aliens who had burned human cities and killed millions of people. "Greetings, Commander Park," the alien said. Its voice sounded like metal scraping against stone. "The Galactic Coalition offers humanity a chance for peace. We invite your leaders to a summit on the neutral moon of Kepler 442c. Come unarmed, and we will discuss ending this war forever." Woojin turned off the screen and rubbed his tired eyes. 20 years of fighting had made him old before his time. His black hair now had gray streaks and his hands had scars from countless battles. He had seen too many friends die in this war. Dr. Hana Kim walked into the command room. She was the smartest person Woojin knew about alien life. Her lab coat was always clean, but her eyes showed the same tiredness that all humans carried these days. "What do you think, Hana?" Woojin asked. Hana shook her head. "It smells like a trap. Why now? We just broke through their blockade around Mars. We just finished our new quantum weapons. Why would they want peace when we are finally winning?" Captain Boram Lee entered the room. She was young but tough, with short black hair and fierce eyes. She commanded the warship Defiance, one of Earth's most powerful ships. "It's definitely a trap," Boram said. "They never wanted peace before. Why start now?" Admiral Tae Ho Yoon came in last. He was an old man with white hair and deep lines on his face. He had been fighting aliens longer than anyone else alive. "Maybe it is a trap," the Admiral said slowly. "But what if it is not? What if they really want peace? Can we take the chance to end this war? How many more humans will die if we say no?" Woojin understood the Admiral's point. Earth was tired. The colonies were struggling. Food was running low on many worlds. Even if humans were winning some battles, the war was destroying them slowly. "If we go ready," Woojin said. The message said no weapons. "But I do not trust aliens who have been trying to kill us for 20 years. Engineer Dongwoo Choi was called to the meeting. He was a thin man with thick glasses who could build anything. His hands were always dirty from working on machines, but his mind was sharp as a blade. "Can you hide weapons on a diplomatic ship?" Woojin asked him. Dongwoo smiled for the first time in weeks. "I can hide weapons anywhere. The new quantum shielding technology can make metal invisible to their scanners. They will never know." Lieutenant So Young-han joined them next. She was the best tactical analyst in the human fleet. She could read battle patterns like other people read books. "If we go, we need to be smart about it," So Young said. "Take a small team, move fast. Have backup plans for everything." The team was decided quickly. Woojin would lead the military side. Hana would handle science and culture talks. Dongwoo would manage their defense systems. So Young would watch for danger and plan their tactics. Boram would stay with the ship to command it if things went bad. The diplomatic ship Harmony's Edge was prepared for the journey. It looked peaceful on the outside, painted white with blue Earth symbols. But Dongwoo worked day and night to hide weapons inside its walls. Quantum disruptors were built into the engine room. Pulse rifles were hidden behind wall panels. Even the coffee maker had a small bomb inside it. "Remember," Dongwoo told his team of engineers, "if anyone scans this ship, it must look completely harmless. No energy signatures, no metal readings, nothing." The night before they left, Woojin could not sleep. He walked through the ship's empty halls, thinking about all the humans who had died in this war. His brother had died in the Battle of Luna Station. His best friend died when aliens attacked the mining colony on Titan. So many good people were gone. Hana found him in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. "Having second thoughts?" she asked. "Always," Woojin said. "But we have to try. If there is even a small chance for real peace, we owe it to everyone who died to take that chance. And if it is a trap?" Woojin touched the hidden pulse pistol under his diplomatic jacket. "Then we show them that humans do not die easily." The next morning, the Harmony's Edge left Earth orbit. The crew was tense but ready. They had studied every detail of the meeting place. Kepler 442c was a small moon with no atmosphere, orbiting a dead planet in neutral space. The aliens had built a dome there for the meeting. As they traveled through hyperspace, So Young kept checking their sensors. Everything looked normal, but she felt worried. Her training told her to trust her instincts, and her instincts were screaming that something was wrong. "How many alien ships will be there?" Boram asked. "The message said representatives from 12 species," Hana replied. "That could mean 12 ships, or it could mean 112 ships." Dongwu was in the engine room making final checks on their hidden weapons. "If they try anything, we will be ready," he said to himself. But even he was nervous. 12 alien species had never worked together before except to fight humans. 3 days later, they reached the edge of the Kepler system. Long-range sensors showed multiple alien ships already in orbit around the moon. So Young counted at least 30 vessels, each one different in design. "That is a lot of ships for a peace meeting," Boram said. Wujin stared at the screen showing the alien fleet. Some ships looked like giant insects. Others were smooth and round like eggs. One ship seemed to be made of pure energy, glowing bright blue against the black space. "Maybe they brought big delegations," Hana said, but her voice showed she did not believe it. As they got closer to the moon, an alien voice came over their radio. It was different from Ambassador Vexthan, deeper and more threatening. "Human vessel, you are cleared to land at Landing Bay 7. Proceed directly to the dome. Any deviation from the flight path will be seen as hostile." Boram piloted the ship down to the moon's surface. The dome was huge, made of clear crystal that sparkled in the light of the distant sun. It looked beautiful, but Wu Jin knew that beautiful things could be deadly. "Last chance to turn around," Boram said as she prepared to land. Wu Jin looked at his team. Hana was checking her translation devices. Dongwu was running final tests on their hidden systems. So Young was studying the tactical situation on her portable computer. "We came here to try for peace," Wu Jin said. "But we are ready for war. Let us see which one the aliens really want." The Harmony's edge touched down on the moon's gray surface. Through the windows they could see aliens moving around outside the dome. Some walked on 2 legs, others crawled on many legs, and some seemed to float in the air. As they prepared to leave their ship, Dongwu made one final check of their weapon systems. Everything was hidden and ready. If this was a trap, humanity would not go down without a fight. But as they walked toward the crystal dome, So Young noticed something that made her blood run cold. The energy readings from the alien ships did not match any known peaceful configurations. They were positioned for attack, not for protection. The trap was already set. Now they had to walk into it and hope their own preparations would be enough to get them out alive. Changmin stared at the holographic display in his grandmother's old study. The images showed dying worlds across the galaxy, cities going dark, ships burning in space, millions of refugees fleeing toward an uncertain future. His grandmother had been dead for 10 years, but her voice still echoed in his mind. "Power without responsibility is tyranny, Changmin. Responsibility without power is slavery. The trick is finding the balance." She had lived through the early days of human space exploration. She had seen humanity's first contact with alien civilizations. She had watched humans go from being alone in the universe to being junior partners in a vast galactic community. She had also seen the condescension, the casual dismissal of human ideas, the assumption that humans were too young, too violent, too chaotic to be trusted with real authority. "But with great power comes great responsibility," Changmin whispered, repeating her favorite saying. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in." It was his aide, Lieutenant Bo-Ra. She looked troubled. "Sir, President Dong Hyun wants to see you. They're making the final decision about galactic intervention." Changmin nodded and followed her to the transport. As they flew toward the capital, he could see the lights of human cities stretching to the horizon. Earth was prosperous and peaceful. Human colonies were thriving. For the first time in decades, humanity was free from alien interference. But somewhere in the galaxy, entire species were dying because they had been too proud to accept human help when it was offered freely. The presidential palace was busy with activity. Military officers rushed between meetings. Diplomatic staff prepared reports. Intelligence analysts updated threat assessments. Changmin found President Dong Hyun in the main conference room, surrounded by Earth's senior leadership. The debate had been going on for hours. "The moral argument is clear," Colonial Chancellor Insu was saying. "We cannot stand by and watch genocide on this scale. But the practical argument is equally clear. If we intervene, we become responsible for galactic civilization forever." Defense Minister He Wan disagreed. "The galaxy made its choice. They rejected us. They told us we were too dangerous to be trusted. Now they're learning what real danger looks like. Economic Director Yunji pulled up financial projections. The cost of intervention would be enormous. We'd need to rebuild entire sectors, restore damaged infrastructure, resettle billions of refugees. Earth's resources are vast but not unlimited. Admiral Subin spoke from the military perspective. We can win. Our tactical superiority is absolute, but victory would mean permanent occupation. We'd need to maintain forces in every sector to prevent future Void Hunter incursions. President Dong Hyun noticed Chang Min entering the room. Junior Officer Chang Min, you requested to address the leadership. Chang Min stepped forward. He was the youngest person in the room, barely 30 years old. 6 months ago, he had been a communications officer on a border patrol ship. Now he was somehow speaking to Earth's most powerful leaders. Mr. President, I've been monitoring communications from the affected sectors. I've heard the voices of ordinary beings who are suffering through no fault of their own. Children crying for parents who died in Void Hunter attacks. Families separated across impossible distances. Entire cultures disappearing forever. We understand the humanitarian cost, President Dong Hyun said gently, but we must also consider Earth's interests. Sir, I think Earth's interests are more complex than we realize. Chang Min activated his personal display. I've been studying human history. Every time humans gained significant power, we faced the same choice. Use that power for our own benefit, or use it to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. And? The times we chose selfishness, we ended up weaker. The times we chose responsibility, we ended up stronger. Power that isn't used to protect others isn't really power at all. It's just isolation. Colonial Chancellor In-Su looked skeptical. You're suggesting we should save the galaxy out of self-interest? I'm suggesting we should save the galaxy because that's what humans do. We protect people. We solve problems. We fix things that are broken. That's not a weakness. That's our greatest strength. Chang Min switched to another display. The galaxy didn't reject us because we were weak. They rejected us because we were too strong. Because we made them feel small and inadequate. Because we represented change and they preferred stability. So if we abandon them now, we prove they were right to fear us. We become the callous overlords they always suspected we might be. But if we save them, President Dong Hyun leaned forward. If we save them? If we save them, we prove that human strength comes with human compassion. That human power serves human values. That the galaxy is safer with us than without us. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, In-Su spoke. You're talking about more than just military intervention. You're talking about permanent leadership. Yes, sir. The galaxy has proven it can't govern itself effectively. The council system was designed for species that think alike. It doesn't work when you need rapid adaptation and creative solutions. Chang Min pulled up his final chart. But human leadership doesn't have to mean human domination. It can mean human service. We lead because we're good at it. Because we can see solutions others miss. Because we can make the hard decisions others can't make. President Dong Hyun stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean. Somewhere in the galaxy, other suns were being extinguished by the Void Hunters. The Galaxy Council's response to our terms? Complete acceptance, Admiral Subin reported. Full human authority over galactic defense. Human veto power over all legislation. Human control of critical infrastructure. They've agreed to everything. And the major powers? The Keltharian Empire, the Spiral Federation, and the Architect Collective have all formally requested human military protection. They're offering complete integration of their forces under human command. President Dong Hyun turned back to the room. Ladies and gentlemen, we're facing the most important decision in human history. Do we remain safe and isolated on Earth? Or do we accept responsibility for galactic civilization? Chang Min raised his hand. Mr. President, I volunteer to serve in whatever capacity you deem appropriate. My grandmother always said that freedom without responsibility is just another form of slavery. Maybe it's time for humanity to be truly free. President Dong Hyun smiled for the first time in weeks. Motion to approve galactic intervention under human leadership. All in favor? Every hand in the room went up. Admiral Subin, prepare the fleet. We're going back to the galaxy. 3 days later, Chang Min stood on the bridge of the flagship Determination as it dropped out of hyperspace at Nexus Prime. The Void Hunter fleet filled the view screen like a dark storm cloud. Behind them, the remnants of the Galactic Defense Force fought desperately against impossible odds. Sir, the communications officer reported, we're getting surrender signals from the alien fleet. They're requesting immediate human tactical control. Admiral Seung-ho, commanding the operation, looked at Changmin. Officer Changmin, you advocated for this intervention. Would you like the honor of announcing our return? Changmin activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice would be heard by every ship in the battle zone, human and alien alike. Attention all vessels. This is the Earth Defense Fleet. We are resuming responsibility for galactic security. All ships will follow human tactical coordination. We're here to save you, not because you deserve it, but because it's the right thing to do. The battle that followed lasted 6 hours. Human ships danced between the massive Void Hunter vessels, striking precisely and withdrawing before the enemy could respond. Human commanders coordinated alien fleets with an efficiency the galaxy hadn't seen in months. When it was over, the Void Hunter fleet was scattered or destroyed. Nexus Prime was safe. The galactic core was secure, but more importantly, the galaxy had learned something new. Human leadership wasn't about human superiority. It was about human service. 1 month later, Changmin stood in the former Galaxy Council chambers, now serving as the headquarters for the new galactic administration. Yujin, the first human director general, was addressing representatives from every surviving species. The old system of equal representation among unequal species has ended, she announced. The new system will be based on contribution and capability. Those who can lead will lead. Those who can serve will serve. Those who need help will receive it. The alien representatives listened without protest. They had learned the price of pride. As the meeting continued, Changmin looked out the great windows at the stars beyond. The galaxy was safe for now. The Void Hunters were contained. Trade was resuming. Refugees were returning to their rebuilt homes. His grandmother had been right about responsibility and power. Humanity had finally found the balance between them. The galaxy would never again mistake human compassion for human weakness. And humans would never again allow alien pride to prevent them from doing what needed to be done. The age of human leadership had begun, and it would be built on a foundation of service, not dominance. The galaxy was finally in good hands, human hands. Subin watched the tactical display with professional interest and personal sadness. The Void Hunter fleet was moving toward the galactic core like a dark tide. Behind them, entire star systems had gone silent. Ahead of them, alien fleets tried desperately to form defensive lines. It wasn't working. Status report, she called to her aide. The hegemony of Krell just lost their fortress world at Sigma Draconis. The Void Hunters broke through their defenses in 4 hours. Subin shook her head. The Krell had spent 2 centuries building those fortresses. They had called them impregnable. They had boasted that no enemy could ever break the Krell defensive doctrine. The Void Hunters had proven them wrong in 4 hours. What about the Krell fleet response? They're trying to implement Formation 7 Alpha. It's their standard defensive pattern. Subin pulled up the tactical display. She could see the Krell ships moving into their perfect geometric formation. Every ship in exactly the right position. Every weapon aimed at precisely the calculated angle. It was beautiful, efficient, and completely useless. The Void Hunters aren't following standard attack patterns, Subin observed. They're coming in from above and below the galactic plane. Formation 7 Alpha assumes enemies will attack along traditional vectors. Should we warn them? Why? 6 months ago, Admiral Kexthor told me that human tactics were primitive and chaotic. He said the Krell had perfected warfare and didn't need advice from young species. Subin watched as the Void Hunter ships tore through the Krell formation. The alien vessels tried to maintain their positions even as enemies attacked from impossible angles. They followed their doctrine perfectly, right up until the moment they were destroyed. Ma'am, we're getting an emergency transmission from Admiral Kexthor himself. Subin hesitated. She had worked with Kexthor for 15 years. He was a decent being, even if he was arrogant. But orders were orders. Put him through. Kexthor's four-armed form appeared on screen. His usual golden armor was scorched and dented. Behind him, Subin could see smoke and emergency lights on his ship's bridge. Subin, thank the stars you're still monitoring our frequencies. We need immediate tactical assistance. The Void Hunters are using attack patterns we've never seen before. Admiral, I'm no longer authorized to provide tactical assistance to Krell forces. You'll need to contact the Galaxy Council. The Galaxy Council? Kexthor's voice cracked. Subin, They spent 3 days debating which committee should handle military emergency responses. My people are dying while they argue about proper procedures. I'm sorry, Admiral. Earth is no longer involved in galactic military affairs. Kexthor was quiet for a moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, smaller. Subin, I was wrong. We were all wrong. Human tactics aren't primitive. They're the only thing that works against enemies like this. Admiral, please, I'm not asking as a Krell commander. I'm asking as someone who watched human officers save my ship 6 times over the past 15 years. My formation is falling apart. My officers don't know how to adapt. We need help. Subin felt her chest tighten. These weren't just numbers on a screen. These were people she had worked with, fought beside, saved and been saved by. But Earth's orders were clear. No assistance to galactic forces. No involvement in galactic conflicts. Humanity was done cleaning up alien mistakes. I'm sorry, Admiral. I truly am. But this is what the galaxy chose when they decided humans were too dangerous to be trusted. She closed the connection before Kexthor could respond. Ma'am, her aide said quietly, we're getting similar requests from 17 other sectors. The Spiral Federation, the Zephyrian Collective, even the Architect Homeworld. They're all asking for tactical assistance. Response? The same. No involvement in galactic affairs. Subin turned to another display. This one showed the Void Hunter advance from a strategic perspective. The Dark Fleet was moving faster than anyone had predicted. They had consumed 30% of the galaxy already, and their advance was accelerating. Analysis suggests complete galactic core penetration within 60 days, her aide reported. And galactic government collapse? The Galaxy Council evacuated Nexus Prime yesterday. They're operating from a mobile command ship now. Member species are withdrawing to defend their own territories. Centralized command has effectively ended. Subin pulled up long-range communications. Messages were flooding in from across the galaxy. Desperate pleas for help. Offers of complete surrender. Promises of anything Earth wanted if they would just return. One message caught her attention. It was from Dong Hyun, Earth's president. Subin, report to my office immediately. We need to discuss the galactic situation. Subin handed control of the tactical center to her deputy and took a transport to the presidential complex. The meeting room was full when she arrived. Military commanders, intelligence directors, economic advisors, and xenobiology specialists. The entire leadership of human space. President Dong Hyun looked tired. The past 6 months had aged him visibly. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a decision to make. The galaxy is collapsing. The Void Hunters will reach the core systems within weeks. Billions of innocent beings will die. Defense Minister Haewon spoke first. Mr. President, our intelligence shows that 67% of galactic military forces have been destroyed. The remaining 33% are scattered and uncoordinated. Without human tactical leadership, they cannot mount effective resistance. What about galactic leadership? Economic Director Yunji answered. The Galaxy Council has lost all authority. Member species are acting independently. There's no central coordination of defense efforts, no unified command structure, no shared intelligence. President Dong Hyun nodded. And the cost of intervention? Admiral Subin stood up. Mr. President, we could stop the Void Hunter advance. Our tactical superiority is absolute. Our officers know how to fight adaptive enemies. Our technology is still functional, but the cost would be enormous. We'd need to deploy our entire fleet. We'd be fighting across dozens of sectors simultaneously, and even if we win, we'd be back to the same situation we were in before, managing galactic affairs while being treated as junior partners. Chancellor In-Soo of the Colonial Assembly raised his hand. Mr. President, we have an alternative proposal. Go ahead, Chancellor. Conditional assistance. We return to the galaxy, but on our terms. Complete human authority over galactic defense. Human veto power over all council decisions. Human control of critical infrastructure. That would make us the de facto rulers of galactic civilization. Yes, sir. It would. The room was quiet for a long moment. Subin thought about Admiral Kexthor's desperate plea, about the billions of aliens who would die if the Void Hunters weren't stopped, about the species that had done nothing wrong except trust leaders who were too proud to treat humans as equals. President Dong Hyun looked around the room. Opinions? Defense Minister Haewon spoke first. The galaxy chose to reject us. They're facing the consequences of that choice. Economic Director Yunji disagreed. We're not monsters. We can't watch billions die just to prove a point. Admiral Subin found herself thinking about her years serving alongside alien officers. They had been arrogant and condescending, but they had also been brave and dedicated. Many had died protecting worlds they had never seen, fighting enemies they barely understood. "Mr. President," she said finally, "if we do this, it has to be permanent. No more pretending we're equals when we're clearly not. No more committees and debates when action is needed. The galaxy gets human leadership or it gets nothing. And if they refuse?" Subin looked at the tactical display showing the Void Hunter advance. "Then they die with their pride intact." President Dong-Hyun was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. "Prepare a message to the Galaxy Council. Humanity will consider returning to galactic affairs under specific conditions. Complete human authority over military and defense matters. Human veto power over all council legislation. Human control of critical infrastructure and technology. And if they refuse, then we will remember them fondly while we mourn their passing." As the meeting broke up, Subin looked out the window at Earth's blue sky. In a few hours, humanity would either reclaim its place in galactic civilization or watch that civilization die. Either way, the age of human subservience was over forever. Yoonji looked at the numbers on her screen and shook her head. The galaxy's economy was collapsing faster than anyone had predicted. In just 6 months, galactic GDP had dropped by 40%. Trade routes were broken. Manufacturing had stopped. Entire sectors were shutting down. The Zephyrian Collective just declared bankruptcy, her assistant reported. Their mining operations can't function without human equipment. Yoonji wasn't surprised. The Zephyrians had built their entire economy around deep space mining. But their mining ships used human-designed gravity manipulation systems. Without human technicians to maintain them, the ships were just expensive pieces of metal floating in space. What about the agricultural worlds? Worse, the Luminar are facing complete crop failure. Their atmospheric processors were all maintained by human teams. Yoonji pulled up the agricultural reports. The Luminar were a peaceful species that had never developed advanced technology. They had traded art and philosophy for human agricultural assistance. Now their worlds were slowly dying as their artificial atmospheres failed. It wasn't just technology. Yejin's reports from the xenobiology department showed something even more disturbing. The galaxy hadn't just been dependent on human machines. They had been dependent on human thinking. "Director Yoonji, we have Captain Jae-sung on line 3, her communications officer announced. Jae-sung appeared on screen. He was aboard one of the last human vessels to leave the Centauri sector. Behind him, Yoonji could see his crew working at their stations with the calm efficiency that marked all human military units. "Captain, what's your final report from the sector?" "It's bad, Director. 3 species have completely abandoned their homeworlds. The Trilithians, the Helix Commune, and the Spiral Dancers. They're all heading for the Galactic Core, but there's no room for them there. Any resistance to the Void Hunters?" Jae-sung was quiet for a moment. "The Keltharian 4th Fleet tried to make a stand at Vega Prime. They had 60 ships and full orbital defenses. The Void Hunters went through them like they weren't even there." "How long did the battle last?" 18 minutes. Yoonji felt a chill. The Keltharian 4th Fleet was one of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy. They had trained for decades to fight the Void Hunters. But without human tactical support, they had been destroyed in less than 20 minutes. "The problem isn't their equipment," Jae-sung continued. "The problem is their thinking. They deploy in perfect formations. They follow doctrine exactly. They never deviate from their plans. And the Void Hunters? The Void Hunters are chaos. They attack from impossible angles. They use tactics that don't make sense. They adapt to everything their enemies do. Fighting them requires creativity, flexibility, and the ability to think outside established patterns. In other words, it requires human thinking." "Yes, ma'am." Yoonji thanked the captain and closed the connection. She turned back to her economic models, but her mind was on Yejin's research. The xenobiologist had been studying galactic society for 20 years. Her conclusions were disturbing. "Yejin, send me your latest report," Yoonji requested through the intercom. A few minutes later, Yejin's face appeared on screen. She looked tired but excited the way scientists did when they discovered something important. "Yoonji, you need to see this. I've been analyzing galactic development patterns over the past 50 years. The results are incredible. What did you find?" "Every major technological advancement has come from human research or human-alien collaboration. Every successful military campaign has used human tactics or human commanders. Every economic innovation has been based on human trade models. Yejin pulled up a series of charts. Look at this. Before humans joined the galaxy, technological development was almost flat. Species would develop to a certain point and then stop. They would reach a stable level and stay there for centuries. And after humans arrived, exponential growth. Across every field, technology, medicine, agriculture, space travel, even art and philosophy, the galaxy has advanced more in the past 50 years than in the previous 500. Yunji studied the charts. The pattern was clear. Human influence hadn't just contributed to galactic civilization, it had transformed it completely. But why? What makes humans different? Psychological adaptability. Most alien species develop rigid thought patterns. They find solutions that work and stick with them. They value stability over innovation. They prefer predictable outcomes. Humans are different. Humans are chaos engines. You never stop questioning. You never accept that something can't be improved. You look at a problem from 6 different angles and then invent a 7th angle that no one else could imagine. Yejin switched to another display. I've been studying alien decision-making patterns. Most species have what I call convergent thinking. When faced with a problem, they analyze it logically and choose the most efficient solution. That sounds reasonable. It is reasonable. It's also predictable. Humans have divergent thinking. You don't just solve problems. You reinvent the problems. You ask questions that other species never think to ask. Yunji was beginning to understand. So when aliens worked with human, they didn't just get human solutions. They got human questions. Human perspectives. Human ways of looking at everything. Without realizing it, the galaxy became dependent on human cognitive diversity. An alert sounded on Yunji's console. She checked the message and felt her stomach drop. Yejin, I have to go. The Galaxy Council is requesting emergency economic assistance. From Earth? From anyone who will listen. Yunji closed the connection with Yejin and opened the emergency channel. Chancellor Thexmal appeared on screen, but he looked very different from 6 months ago. His purple skin was pale and his usually perfect appearance was disheveled. Director Yunji, thank you for responding. The Galaxy Council needs immediate assistance. Our economic models show complete collapse within 30 days without intervention. Chancellor, I'm not sure why you're contacting Earth. We're no longer part of galactic civilization, remember? Please, Director. This isn't about politics anymore. Billions of innocent beings are suffering. Entire species face extinction. Yunji looked at the data streaming across her screens. The Void Hunters had taken 40 systems in the past month. The galactic economy was in free fall. Refugee fleets crowded the space lanes looking for anywhere safe to go. What exactly are you asking for, Chancellor? Full restoration of human presence in galactic affairs. Full membership in the Galaxy Council. Full access to human technology and expertise. In exchange for what? Thexmal was quiet for a long moment. What do you want? Yunji had been preparing for this conversation for months. Full voting rights. Veto power over council decisions. Control of galactic defense planning. 50% representation on all committees. That would make humans the dominant voice in galactic government. Chancellor, 6 months ago you were redistributing our colonies like we were children playing with toys. Now you're asking us to save galactic civilization. The price of salvation is control. I need to discuss this with the full council. You have 24 hours, Chancellor. After that, Earth's attention will be focused on other matters. Yunji closed the connection and leaned back in her chair. Through her office window, she could see Earth's blue skies and green continents. For the first time in months, she felt peaceful. Her assistant knocked on the door. Director, we're getting similar requests from the Keltharian Empire, the Spiral Federation, and the Architect Collective. They're all asking for immediate assistance. And offering what in return? Complete surrender of sovereignty. They want Earth to take control of their military forces. Yunji smiled. 6 months ago, these same species had been debating whether humans were mature enough to manage their own colonies. Now they were begging Earth to take control of their entire civilizations. File the requests. We'll consider them after the Galaxy Council responds. Outside her window, the sun was setting over the Pacific Ocean. Somewhere in the galaxy, alien worlds were going dark as their human-maintained systems failed. Somewhere else, the Void Hunters were consuming entire systems while alien fleets failed to stop them. But on Earth, the lights were burning bright. Humanity was safe, prosperous and finally free from alien condescension. The question now was whether they were willing to go back and save the galaxy that had rejected them. Dayun stared at the screens in front of her. The Earth Intelligence Center was quiet except for the soft hum of computers. But the information flowing across those screens was anything but quiet. The galaxy was falling apart. "Ma'am, we're getting reports from the Keltharian border," her assistant said. "Their defense grid just went offline." Dayun nodded. She had been expecting this. The Keltharians had always been proud of their impenetrable defenses. They forgot that every single one of their shield generators was built with human technology. More importantly, they all had human-designed safety protocols that required human authorization codes to keep running. Those codes had just expired. "What about the Spiral Federation?" Dayun asked. "Their entire communication network is down. Apparently, their main servers were maintained by human technicians." Dayun pulled up a star map. Red dots were appearing everywhere as systems went offline. Each red dot represented billions of aliens who had suddenly lost something they took for granted. Power grids, communication networks, defense systems, medical equipment, food production facilities. The aliens had never realized how much they depended on human technology. More importantly, they had never realized that Minho and his team had been very careful about how they shared that technology. Minho had been Earth's technology liaison for 20 years. He was a quiet man who always seemed helpful. The aliens loved him because he always said yes when they asked for human technology. What they didn't know was that Minho was also very smart about what he gave them. Every piece of human technology had hidden components, systems that looked simple but required specific human-made parts to function, software that needed regular updates from human programmers, hardware that would slowly break down without human maintenance. The aliens thought they were getting gifts. They were actually getting leashes. "Director, we're getting emergency signals from the outer rim," another technician reported. Dayun switched to the long-range communication array. The messages were coming in dozens of languages, but they all said the same thing. The Void Hunters were moving. For 50 years, human ships had patrolled the galaxy's edge. They were fast, adaptable, and commanded by officers who could think on their feet. The aliens had always complained that human tactics were unpredictable and chaotic. They preferred neat formations and traditional strategies. Now those neat formations were being torn apart by enemies that didn't follow any rules. "Get me Captain So Young," Tian ordered. So Young appeared on the main screen. She was aboard the last human dreadnought to leave the outer rim. Behind her, Dayun could see the bridge crew working calmly at their stations. "Report. Captain, we've just passed the Helix Nebula, Director. All human vessels are accounted for. We're 3 days from Sol. What's the situation behind you?" So Young's expression didn't change, but Dayun could see the anger in her eyes. "The Zephyrian Defense Fleet tried to take our position after we left. The Void Hunters tore through them in 6 hours. Last I heard, they were requesting immediate assistance from the Galaxy Council." "And the Council's response?" "They're forming a committee to study the situation." Dayun almost smiled. Of course they were. The Galaxy Council loved committees. They could spend months discussing the proper way to respond to an emergency. Meanwhile, worlds burned. "Any word from our former allies?" "The Valerian Chancellor sent 14 messages demanding that we return to our posts. The Keltharian Empire is threatening to declare us traitors to galactic civilization. The Spiral Federation is offering to negotiate a mutually beneficial return to cooperation. I assume you filed all of these appropriately?" "In the waste disposal system, yes, ma'am." This time Dayun did smile. So Young had never liked diplomatic niceties. The communication officer raised his hand. "Director, we're getting a priority transmission from the Galaxy Council. They're requesting immediate communication with Earth leadership." "Are they?" Dayan pulled up the transmission. Chancellor Thexmal's purple face filled the screen. He looked tired and angry. "This is Chancellor Thexmal of the Galaxy Council. I demand to speak with Earth's leadership immediately. This childish tantrum has gone far enough. Galactic security is at risk." Dayun let the message play through. The Chancellor went on for several minutes about humanity's obligations and responsibilities. He mentioned galactic law and treaty requirements. He even threatened economic sanctions. When it finished, Dayun recorded her own message. "This is Director Dayun of Earth Intelligence. Your message has been received and logged. Earth no longer recognizes Galaxy Council authority. We have no treaties with any galactic government. We have no obligations to any alien species. If you wish to contact Earth in the future, you may submit formal diplomatic requests through the proper channels. Good day. She sent the message and turned back to her screens. The red dots were spreading faster now. The Luminar Collective had just lost atmospheric control on 3 of their worlds. The Christek Union's mining operations had shut down completely. Even the mighty Architect homeworld was showing power fluctuations. Director, her communications officer called out. We're getting reports of refugee fleets leaving the Outer Rim. 17 different species so far. Where are they going? Anywhere they can. Most are heading for the galactic core. Some are requesting asylum from the major powers. Dayun pulled up the tactical display. The situation was worse than she had expected. Without human ships patrolling the borders, the Void Hunters were advancing on multiple fronts. Their dark ships moved like shadows between the stars, consuming everything in their path. The galaxy's remaining defenders were trying to stop them, but they were failing badly. Alien commanders were too rigid in their thinking. They couldn't adapt when their neat battle plans fell apart. They couldn't improvise when the enemy did something unexpected. Humans were different. Human commanders had learned to expect the unexpected. They trained for chaos. They planned for their plans to fail. The aliens had always said this made humans dangerous and unpredictable. Now they were learning the difference between dangerous to your enemies and dangerous to your friends. Get me a connection to Admiral Jae Sung, Dayun ordered. Admiral Jae Sung was in charge of the final evacuation. He appeared on screen from the bridge of his flagship. Through the viewports behind him, Da-un could see dozens of human ships in formation. Admiral, what's your assessment of galactic defense capabilities? Jae Sung was quiet for a moment. Without human tactical support? 6 months. Maybe less if the Void Hunters coordinate their attacks. And with human support? We could hold the line indefinitely. But that's not our problem anymore, Dayun nodded. Any regrets, Admiral? About leaving? No, about what's going to happen to innocent civilians. Yes, that was the hard part. The Galaxy Council and the major powers deserved what was coming. They had treated humanity with contempt for 50 years. But there were billions of ordinary aliens who had done nothing wrong. They were going to suffer because their leaders were too proud to treat humans as equals. Director, we're getting another priority message. This one's from the Architect homeworld. Da-un pulled up the message. Velandra's crystal form was flickering rapidly, which meant she was agitated. Director Da-un, this is Architect Velandra. I am contacting you directly because the situation has become critical. The Void Hunters have broken through our outer defenses. Our computational networks are failing without human maintenance. Our ships cannot adapt to enemy tactics. We need help, the message paused. When Velandra continued, her voice was different, smaller, almost humble. We may have made errors in our treatment of humanity. Perhaps discussions could be arranged. Perhaps accommodation could be reached. The galaxy needs human expertise. We are prepared to negotiate. Dayun stared at the screen for a long moment. This was probably the first time in galactic history that an architect had admitted to making an error. But it was too late for negotiations. The message had been sent 12 hours ago. By now, the Architect fleet was probably scattered or destroyed. File it with the others, Dayun told her assistant. The screens continued to show the galaxy's collapse, power grids failing, communication networks going dark, defense fleets being destroyed, entire worlds going silent. The aliens had wanted to be rid of their troublesome human partners. Now they were getting exactly what they asked for. The only question was whether any of them would survive long enough to regret it.